Harvard High School was a great little school where my dad went to school. Um, my favorite thing to do was probably sports. We started basketball when I was a sophomore in high school, so we were terrible, but we weren't a whole lot better in volleyball. Um, but it was really fun. I mean, that was again one of those times when you got to go out, get on a bus and go out to other towns and meet other kids, and I really enjoyed that part of it. I student managed the boys track team, which I loved because I really think track is a fascinating sport, and there were some really cute guys that ran. And I did drama, and I was class president when I was a freshman and junior, and I don't know, we had it was a small school. It was our English curriculum was okay. I took 2 years of German. Our math curriculum was really good because once I finished my sophomore year, our teacher just let us work individually, so I could do another semester of college and I did 4.5 years of math in 4 years, and I really liked working independently. Really a pretty good education for a little school at that time, I think. But our band teacher was phenomenal. We had a very good band, and our chorus teacher was horrible. He just wasn't even fun. But anyway, so I did about everything there was to do in high school at that point in time, as did my siblings. That was and when I was a sophomore, Kent was a junior. Actually, when Kent was a senior, I was a junior, and Ned was a freshman, and Kent was a wrestler, and I was in girls basketball, and Ned was in boys basketball, and those were all on different nights. So there'd be times our parents would split up as best they could to cover and watch what we did, and they were actually quite good at doing that. Grandpa would take time off the farm when we were in school to do that, so it was fun. Actually, dorm life was really fun in college. Which led into it is all kind of tied together because being on Ag campus, which was a small campus, the first 2 weeks of college, my roommate and I went around and visited all the campus clubs to see which one we thought was the most fun, and we decided we joined that one, which turned out to be Block and Bridle, which a lot of kids in our dorm were in, and that was a really interesting time. I didn't know that much about livestock other than sheep, so we did put on a kids' day. We put on a beef show and a horse show, and I cleaned out a lot of stalls and things that really I hadn't done growing up. And we toured campuses each spring break, so that we went south 1 year, west, east, north. So I got to visit all the land-grant campuses around there through the course of that. There were 200 kids in the club at one time. I mean, it was just a big, active club, and that encompassed all of the independents and the frats and kids from downtown, so it was really a great time. We had wonderful faculty help from the animal science department. They really bought into what we were doing and helped a lot. We went to national meetings. That's where I met your dad at on the way to the animal science meetings in Guelph, Canada. And I did downtown things. I did some things like ASUN, which was kind of fun campaigning and awful doing it, but still it's how I met one of my best friends in the world, Laura Mooseman. Mortarboard was kind of painful too, because at that point in time I wanted to spend time with my friends, and none of them were in mortarboard, but we went to sporting events kind of like we did here. It was a different experience because I lived away from home. We would call home once a week, or I can remember making a collect call when I got a big scholarship to tell my parents about it. But for the most part, they put me in the back of Kent's pickup and sent me to college, and that was the end of, So it was a very growing up time and figuring it out, the same as you with kids your own age. And my freshman roommate I loved, but she spent most of the time doing her nails and plucking her eyebrows, and she just wasn't a student. Great kid, didn't want to be a student, married a vet, and has done very well, but life was torn upside down a little bit when she chose not to come back to school, because I found out a week before, and then I got thrown into the who's your roommate, and that was interesting. And one of the things I loved about Burr Hall is the first kids would generally leave their doors open, and the alumni would come back and wander the halls to meet the new people, and I'm sure a lot of it was guys looking for girls, but it was really just kind of the old guard came back, and they were part of the family, and they made us quickly part of the family. And most of my time was spent with Block and Bridle, though I was an officer in that club, like about 5 or 6 out of the semesters, out of the 8 semesters I was there. So a lot of time was spent working on our annual or our scrapbook or preparing for meetings. And I was really busy. I studied a lot, and I was really busy with outside activities, and it was really fun.